Welcome to this week's live ASX strategy session. Great to have you with me. Fair bit of interesting things to talk about this week with the ASX 200 starting to break down over the last couple of days. Bit of stuff to look at in the commodities as well. So I think we should have a pretty interesting show. I've also got a couple of stocks I want to show you, which I think you're going to find pretty interesting to have a look at. So before we get in today, of course, everything today is general commentary only, doesn't take your personal situation into account. So having gone through and said all that, I think we should jump into the first chart. So I've got the ASX 200 to start us off, and quite a bit has been happening during the week. I think the concern for many people will be whether this decline we've had in the last few days, I think that the concern will be whether this is a start of something bigger. And it's always the way people tend to, we all tend to feel when we see a pullback. Is it going to develop into something larger? Prices haven't been able to regain the upward momentum they previously had, and now we're seeing the ASX 200 break below this support. So we drew this support in a few weeks ago, comes in at around 7,720. We've got a breakdown below there a couple of days back. But this week's breakdown, I don't think it necessarily is a big deal. It's the way I'm looking at it. And also, look, I think it probably doesn't come as a surprise seeing the market break below this support, because this is something we've spoken about in the strategy sessions in recent weeks. We've been discussing the scenario where perhaps the ASX 200 trades within a broad range and has a larger consolidation. So seeing it coming back below this support, back towards the lower end of the range, really not that big a surprise. The difficulty I've had with the possibility of prices returning to new all-time highs, it's really been around the fact that we had this large 5-month advance off the October low, and my thinking has been along those lines. It needs time to consolidate. We had a 3-week pullback, and the question always was that enough? Was that enough to get prices moving up again? And I think that now we've got this break of the 7,720, we've got the break of that support. I think that clears the path for a retest, possibly of the April low, and that could be part of a zigzag decline. So we often see these chart setups where we get a strong rally, and then we get a zigzag. We get a zigzag pullback where the market goes down, up, and then down. That can be a pretty common type of corrective scenario that plays out. And another scenario is that we see prices find support above the April low, but then just start to move sideways within a range, your classic trading range. And it wouldn't be surprising to look back on this later in the year and see that the ASX 200 spends some time within this blue box area. And I think both scenarios are equally as valid. And the thing is, with these corrective periods, we never know the path that the correction is going to take. And I think that what we should do, it's really just being prepared, for the possibilities of sideways price action, the zigzag price action, and just I think the likelihood that there is actually more time to be spent with the market backing and filling before we can look for hopefully a resumption of the upward momentum later in the year. I do think this whole structure can support higher levels. It's just, for me, it's a matter of timing, and that it needs more time in this consolidation phase before we can look at higher levels. I think this break below support, it does create a bit of technical damage in the near term, and I think it makes it less likely that there's going to be a quick resumption to new highs. Also interesting to come across and have a look at the financial index, and I've got an ETF to do this. I've got the BetaShares ASX 200 financial ETF. Now this is something we looked at. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we talked about the possibility of getting a double top with the prices. So there's that zigzag correction, a classic zigzag, the strong rally. There's a zigzag I talked about with the ASX 200. Rally off there, potential to double top, and so far that's playing out. We've had the market pull back from those highs, and I think this is constructive price action, which can lead to new highs. But again, it comes down to time, and I think it needs a bit more of it before looking for maybe a resumption of the trend. And I think that, yeah, look, I think this just all adds to the likelihood of more consolidation in the ASX 200. Just coming back to the ASX 200, I'm still holding the view, as I mentioned before, that I think this is still an overall upward trending market. We've had that big corrective period over 2 years. I think this is at the start of a larger trending phase. I think that's where the balance of probability lies at this point. Of course, that can always change, but at the moment, I think we work on the basis that the broader trend is up. There's nothing here really to suggest otherwise. At this point, it does look like the overall structure remains positive. What's important now is we do see support come in. We get buying the dip come in. As we get towards these April lows, that the market does start to find support somewhere near there. What we wouldn't want to see would be for the market to maybe decline a bit more and then just really stall and not be able to rebound. And then when you get a stalled market below declining moving averages, that's when it can become vulnerable. That hasn't happened at this point. It's just one of those things that I think needs to be looked out for over the coming days, maybe the current weeks. My approach here is to know where my stop loss levels are in my portfolio. So every stock in there, I've got a stop loss, and I won't hesitate to sell a stock if it triggers that exit point. I sold a stock yesterday. It had just come back. It hadn't hit my stop loss, but it was below my time exit. So I give a stock 60 trading days. It comes to about 3 months. 3 months, if it's not in profit after that period, I'll just move it out of the portfolio and free up a position for another potential opportunity to come in. So I did that yesterday with one stock. And it's not about holding on, hoping a stock rebounds. It's just about, if it's not working, getting rid of it. So for me, it's all about protecting capital when a stock's not performing. And I think having an exit strategy, it's one of the core principles of investing in stocks. Even if you're a longer-term investor, you still got to have some, I think, idea around things that could cause an exit at some point. Unless you're in a market ETF, maybe there can be different strategies around that. But with individual stocks, I don't think it should ever be just buy and forget, because situations can change. I'm also using those wide trailing stocks in my portfolio. I don't want to get shaken out of some of my best trades if I can avoid it. Stocks could be back. Look, it's entirely feasible that stocks are back at all-time highs in a few months' time. And if that's the case, it's always if that's the case, I still want to be holding most of my portfolio. But of course, if it does turn lower and continue lower, I've got that way out. And that's always important, having a way out should things change. Now, I'm going to move on to the small ords in a sec. I've got the commodities. I've got 2 stocks I want to show you, but that wraps up the free section. And so, look, if you're not a strategy session, a member, come across for the rest of the program. I think you'll find it really interesting. And look, if you're finding getting some value from this, please hit that like button. Please leave us your comment. Just, hey, thanks for the video. It just helps a lot when you do those things. Now, okay, so let's move on. Let's move on into the small